Hello, so here's my uh, scripting part that I did for the project. It's pretty much 5 basic scripts that are mostly specified because I didn't want to have to manage debugging some massive script. And I'll just go over them in the random order that they're up here. So the first script is what manages looking up and seeing, kind of having your camera freeze. And all it is some public places where I plugged in the image and ice alpha so that you could see the alpha of the color of that texture. And what I do is I basically, if the camera's transform rotation is above a certain angle, and for whatever reason negative 0.03 seemed like the good one, I could have made this a public variable, but it's not really something I figured I'd ever want to edit. So if it's above 0.03, then it sets the and the ice alphas clamped basically between 0 and 1 because I didn't want it going above 1 or below 0. Then you just slowly, it's on a update, and so just every frame it goes up 0.01, and then it just has, basically you have a temp color that you can edit and then move that back into the overlay color, and overlay is the image. So and the only thing I'm editing in color is the A, which is the alpha. So yeah, that's that script. It's pretty straightforward. Change mat is when you walk up to the robot and touch it, then it just cycles through these materials. I want to say right off the bat, I know there's such thing as switches and switch case and enums, but I didn't do that because I know how to do if else's, and it wasn't going to be any more complex. And also, it just only runs when you touch it. It's not like something on update. So yeah, I know this isn't super efficient, but it works. Um, and basically, it's got all the standard stuff. Plug it in, uh, and basically what happens is somewhere in the character movement script, if you press E, then it runs this function, which starts the coroutine. Because I don't know, I felt weird starting a coroutine. It felt more natural starting a function from another script than starting a coroutine from another script. But that's just me. And so you start it, it waits a tiny delay, 0.1f here, and that's just so it doesn't change as soon as you press it. It waits a little bit for the animation. And then after it does that, it determines, like, if it's this material, set it to the next one and set the true falses accordingly. And if it ever gets confused, say it's confused. So easy. The next one is this is the snow timer that I showed at the beginning. Basically, it starts off with snow on the ground, snow particles, and no butterflies. And then after a set float snow timer, it kills the it kills the snow particles. It slowly fades out the snow on the ground, and it starts up the butterfly particles. So I have the snow emission, and then let's see, if snow stop happens, then the snow emission just sets to 0. And the opposite for the butterflies. But what's interesting is fade snow. Essentially, fade snow is set to false, but when it's set to true, then it on a fixed update, it slowly decreases by this number, and snow amount. And snow amount is basically it's this number, which is plugged into the shader, which this is this is the reference for it, for just that one snow. I think it's technically the opacity of the snow effect. But yeah, so it just modifies that vector 1 and decreases the snow over time in the fixed update. So next is explode is what I called it, because I was originally going to have the robot explode, but then I realized it looks much cooler if the character punches the robot, and so this is what happens when you punch the robot and it flies back. It just adds a force, right? A coroutine that waits a little bit for the animation, and then you take the robot's rigid body, add a force, and the force is public, so you can choose which direction it flies off in. And then the most complicated, I guess, but not by a lot, is character movement. It's pretty much your simple character controller. It takes the animator, the character has a character controller rather than a rigid body. And because of that, it has to have gravity coded in, which is where here, gravity. But other than that, it's pretty expected. I have left shift for the animation states, right? And like I mentioned before in the animator section, it goes between 0 and 1 in the walk state. Otherwise, it's a Boolean for whether it's moving or not, and that's just dependent on whether the W key is held. And then these things are triggers that just set it to basically trigger the animation and then run that function and either explode or change matte that then do their own thing like I showed earlier. And yeah, that's about it. So I think that's everything. Thanks for watching.